Naturally, all the heavyweight contenders and all contenders in all weight divisions for that matter are trying to hit the jackpot. They all want to face the cash cow in their division so they can make millions and millions and be set up for life, take care of their families and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to numerous heavyweight contenders calling out Anthony Joshua right now, I don't just think it's all down to them wanting a paycheck. Because when Mike Tyson was world heavyweight champion, yes, there were some guys calling him out, but there was a lot of fighters who were not rushing to get in the ring and have their world heavyweight title shot against Mike Tyson. Yeah, a lot of guys were biding their time and, taking a long time before they challenged for the title because the world heavyweight champion was so formidable. There were some guys who felt that way in the 70s with George Foreman. And in fact, George Foreman himself felt that way about Joe Frazier. George Foreman was fighting on Joe Frazier's undercards before he actually fought Frazier. And if you watch the documentary Champions Are Forever, George Foreman said that he was afraid of Joe Frazier. And he told himself, I want to be heavyweight champion of the world, but I wish that Joe Frazier would die first. That's what George Foreman said in Champions Forever. Real good documentary. So yeah, that's the kind of vibe you had during the Tyson era in the mid to late 80s. Where it was, obviously Tyson had opponents and what have you, but some guys were not too keen on getting in there with him anytime soon. In the case of, let's say, Tyrell Biggs, he was really rushed into the Tyson fight because of the fact that he had a drug problem. And his handlers, the Duvers, knew that if they didn't put him in with Tyson soon, somebody else was going to beat him. So he was rushed to his title shot and he took his beating and got his check. But with Anthony Joshua, the Andy Ruiz fight, the first fight in particular, but even the second fight, has shown a vulnerability to AJ, which has emboldened most of the heavyweight division now. Because prior to that Ruiz loss, I don't want to say that the heavyweight division were afraid of Anthony Joshua necessarily, but there was a lot more caution from the contenders when talking about AJ. But now you've got the likes of Frank Sanchez coming out saying he'll defeat Joshua. You've got Robert Helenius, of all people, coming out saying he'll fight Joshua and he'll become the world heavyweight champion from Finland and all this kind of business. And of course you got Jarrell Miller piping up again saying, yeah, I would have put Anthony Joshua in a casket if we'd fought. So you expect contenders to call out the heavyweight champion, but notice how these guys are all calling out AJ, or they're all talking smack about AJ. They're not talking that way about Tyson Fury, are they? Not as aggressively, not with as much confidence anyway. It's mainly AJ who people are gunning for, and it's a big payday against Tyson Fury. Yeah? It's not like Tyson Fury's gonna pay you chicken change if you face him. You still get a good payday there too. AJ might be the bigger payday still, but the gap is closing between the two of them. And I know AJ's got more belts, but it's the fact that people have seen AJ get knocked out. They saw him box negatively against Andy Ruiz, and they think he's weak now, he's wounded, I smell blood, now's the time to get him. Before he gets his confidence back, now's the time to get him. So it's going to be a very challenging phase of Anthony Joshua's career, because when you are looking dominant, opponents can be hesitant when they're in the ring with you because they haven't seen you get knocked out. They haven't seen any serious weaknesses. So they're not sure if those weaknesses are actually there. It's one thing believing it, but another thing knowing it. So you get a certain amount of time and space from opponents when you haven't yet lost, when you've been knocking everybody out. But once they've seen you hit the canvas 4 times and get stopped in 7 rounds, and then be very defensive and wary in the rematch, they're thinking, okay, I can attack this guy. I can actually go for it against him, because it's not just the fact that you know you can hurt him now. It's also that mentally you know there's going to be demons in his head. And that's something you believe you can exploit. So it's going to be a real testing time for Anthony Joshua. He's going to have to earn his respect back. When these fighters are coming at him in the ring with all types of confidence, believing they can knock him out, he's going to have to put some people to sleep in order to win that respect back, get his own confidence back, obviously, but have that old situation whereby when he steps in the ring, opponents are not just rushing him anymore. You know, they're not looking at him with fire in their eyes. Instead, it's easier when you've got opponents who are a little more cautious and a little more respectful of what you're doing. Yeah, and he's going to have to put a hurting on some of these guys in order to get that. And he's also going to have to take some punishment at some stage in fights and show that he can come back from taking punishment. Lennox Lewis had to go through that after he got knocked out by Oliver McCall. The Ray Mercer fight is where he took punishment and he came back. And that fight right there won a lot of respect for Lennox Lewis among the American boxing fraternity, particularly among the fighters rather than the press, who are still pretty negative about Lewis. But they did have to concede he's not quite as chinny, not quite as lily-livered as they thought he might be. You know, they were always making the English jokes about tea and crumpets and being with the cream and all this kind of business. But after that Ray Mercer fight, where he really stood in there and hung tough with Mercer, who was a real tough guy in his day, they thought, okay, maybe Lewis is tougher than we thought he was. Anthony Joshua is going to have a similar experience to that, I think, before the world accepts him as the heavyweight champion. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all these fighters calling out AJ. Could any of them beat him? Jarrell Miller says that he would have put AJ in a casket. Most of you will remember, if you were subscribed to me at the time, I was one of the few people who was actually giving Jarrell Miller a good chance against AJ. You remember when that fight got signed? Most people were saying it's a terrible fight, Miller's a plodder, AJ will smash into pieces. That's what the vast majority of people were saying. I was saying, actually, I think Jarrell Miller's got a real good chance. I said if he can take AJ's power, I think AJ's going to have a lot of problems against Jarrell Miller. I still feel that way. But we don't know what Miller's going to be like without the juice, of course. So who knows? Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the things I've talked about in this video. It's Hatman, I'm out.